Hey, so it's getting into December now, and we're approaching the winter solstice. The days are getting shorter, and the nights are getting longer and longer. And I thought we could talk a little bit about what that means for this season. So we're just coming off of the fall, where we celebrate harvest festivals, abundance, Thanksgiving, these kind of events that show the benefit of all the hard work we've done for the year. So we kind of celebrate our prosperity. And then as the nights get shorter and shorter, we start as beings begin to worry about the losing of the light and the scarcity of food, the hardness of shelter when you live in the north. And we begin the time of Christmas. So right after the solstice, the shortest day of the year, the days begin to get longer again. And the church has put the birth of Jesus, the Christ, at the beginning of the lengthening of the sun. And that's sort of a deliberate thing, because the church at the time was looking to convert a lot of the people in Europe, a lot of Northern Europe, Norwegians, Vikings, people of Germanic tribes, all these pagan people to Christianity. And they kind of thought if we could combine the rituals and practices and the symbolism of this time of year, we could, all become a Christian, I suppose. But long before that, the pagans at the time celebrated a thing called Yule. It was at the time of the darkness and beginning of the light, with the Yule logs and the burning of the, bright big logs, and the decoration of a Christmas tree, an evergreen, a tree that could withstand the cold, dark nights and the long, long, cold days of winter and still remain green and fresh. It was an evergreen, everlasting kind of symbolic tree. And they paired this with their god, Odin, who is thought to, at this time, when the darkness was so dark, he would fly through the sky, his bearded Viking self, fly through the sky, promising new light and giving gifts. And it's kind of coupled with the Christian Saint Nicholas, who was a real being living in Europe, who gave gifts, helped the poor, was incredibly compassionate, loving soul, who did a lot for children in Europe who needed food, shelter, belongings, gifts. So these two kind of merged together into this kind of a Santa Claus, Nordic, European model. So we have this kind of a combination of we decorate a tree with light to symbolize the rebirth, and spring will come one day. We celebrate the birth of Jesus, the light who comes to earth to redeem us all, that kind of thing. And we celebrate the beginning of the end of the long nights with Yule logs and light festivals and decorating our homes with lights. And it was a practice around the world. When the nights get really short, they have a lot of festivals of light and that kind of thing. So it's kind of nice to look at. I remember being young, trying to figure out what Christmas trees and all these things had to do with Jesus, and it was always kind of confusing to me. A man who was from the Middle East. Well, I don't even think they had any kind of trees remotely like that there. The whole thing was kind of like confusing. But when you think about it, it's really like a blend of very early on this biological thing we all have as people, the fear of losing the sun and not being able to grow food, not being able to sustain ourselves. In these long nights, what if the sun doesn't come back? What if it doesn't come back? And we have these festivals. Sometimes it's prayer, ritual, and pageantry to try to bring the sun back up into the sky again. But on a biological level, it was just the insecurity of not being able to gather food when we were hunter-gatherers. And it continued, through time. So the festival coming up, this Christmas festival, is really a celebration of hope, the hope that we all have that life will come back out of the darkness into the light. So when you're celebrating, just remember that it is a combination of pagan belief and Christian belief coupled together with a basic human belief of hope and the returning of the light and the leaving of the darkness. All right, that's just a brief thing. Thank you.